Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst, LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am your host, LaWanna Bradford, and I am excited because I have a very, very special guest that's going to be joining me today. And this is in salute to Black-Owned Business Month. So I thought, it's really good for people to hear your story. And I realized that I talk a lot about my story in business as it stands today, but I haven't gone back to tell the story of how I even came to be as the entrepreneur that I am today. And I have the special guest that I have is my 30 plus year business partner, Ricky J. Spann. He is a U.S. Army retired lieutenant colonel. He is an inventor, a speaker, a life coach, an athletic coach, an author, an advocate, and just all things amazing. He is one of the most brilliant minds I've ever met, and he is a serial entrepreneur, and I'm so proud, tongue-tied, because I'm kind of nervous, proud to call him my partner, my friend, and family. And how's it going, Rick?
Good afternoon, LaWanna, and thanks for having me. Everything's going well. How are you?
I'm doing well. doing well. It's funny because I do the show all the time, Rick, and I'm like so calm, I'm flowing, but now I'm like nervous. It's like, oh, Big Daddy's in the house.
Yeah, we're going in the way back machine, huh?
We're going way, way back. So today we are going to talk about, I want to put this up here, 30 plus years of partnership. And these are, we're just going to talk about lessons learned on this amazing journey. And I want to put your name here too. And I apologize for being a little slow with this. I don't know why. Sometimes it's like StreamYard is just not being my friend today, but we'll get it up there. So, Rick, I want to, we could talk for days.
Yeah, we
about our journey. And both of us had the entrepreneurial bug when we met each other, but doing things on a very, very small scale. But you came to me, and when we say 30 plus years, I was 23 years old. I'm not going to say how old we are now, but that's what we said, 30 plus. But you came to me at 23 and you said, I got an idea. Why don't we start a licensed sporting apparel store? So for those people who may be listening for the first time and not really understanding what do we mean by licensed sporting apparel, why don't you introduce our audience to what that is and where did this idea come from?
Well, a little bit of the backstory on me. I got the entrepreneurial bug from my mother. And my mother, like so many other parents, were caught up into multi-level marketing. So once I got involved in that, it was, I had the bug I bit for life. Now, some of the MLMs that I got into, they were as successful as I made them, but that's another story. So what got me into licensed apparel, I played high school sports, baseball, football, and basketball. And so all the kids at our age, we had very, very little licensed apparel, but they were out there. We had like the starter jackets, the Raider jackets, the baseball caps, and all those things. And I remember asking my parents, hey, buy me this, buy me that. And my dad, he was not into licensed apparel at all. A tennis shoe was a Beta Bullet or a Sears Jeeper. I'm dating myself when I say Jeepers, but I always thought those some kids were walking around with them, wearing them in the high school, and I thought, man, that would really be nice. So my mother said, and my dad said, if you want to wear that, you'll have to buy them yourself. Better yet, you ought to sell some and let them buy it for you. Let the proceeds from your revenue let that buy your toys. And that was a lesson that it kept going over and over again. It's like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get licensed apparel, sell enough so that I could get it and wear it my own self? Then it's a aha, be a business person. And having that marketing, a multi-level marketing experience, I said, well, how do I do that? And by that time, I'm in the Army. I'm graduated from high school and college. I'm in the Army. And LaWanna and I, as you know, we sort of grew up in the military together, and we were in the same church. So I was trying to get people to help see the vision. And we'd have choir rehearsal, prayer meeting, Bible study. And I would say, hey, will anyone help me build will anyone help me? I always use the bake the cake thing. It was the like, I forgot which nursery rhyme, but I knew I needed someone to help me bake the cake, so to speak. So I talked to everyone that would listen, and LaWanna would start listening. It's like, hey, we could sell these licensed apparel and we can make money, we could get rich, and then we could wear the licensed apparel that we sold for free. And that's what the bug was that bit me. And so the next thing is like,
wait, let's pause because we're gonna weave some things in the story. So
okay.
you said a couple of things here. So giving a little backstory as to how the bug hit you, and for me, the entrepreneur bug came in high school with Future Business Leaders of America. And we had to, one of our main projects was to develop a business concept and put all the pieces together. And it just fascinated me. And I think I just loved all things business since then. And I love new things. So you came to me with this bright, shiny idea called For a Starter Sports. And I'm like, why not? Right? Like you said, your background and me being, a former athlete and just a lover of sports, but I wasn't a fanatic, but I saw the opportunity. And so what I want to just pause right now, because we're going to give little lessons along the way in this, is sometimes partners come when you least expect it, or sometimes opportunities will knock that you don't expect. So it wasn't that I was looking for a business partner, looking to do a new business, thinking anything about sports or licensing, but in walks Rick with this amazing opportunity. And one of the things, Rick, and I'd like to toss the ball back to you, is we often say when we talk to each other is everything that we learned about business, we learned during Pro Starter Sports. Everything. I mean, it's now, it sits on, maybe you're digitizing something or you've got new systems, but really every lesson was built during that time. What do you have to say about that?
So yes, as I said, we had I had tried selling everything for someone else, and so I still have, and I tell people I still have inventory of some of the MLMs that I was in. So, but I realized that I was only working for other people. Then my thing is that how can I work for myself? So when I met LaWanna, the one thing I noticed is that she was a marketing expert, business. I said, yeah, I'm a coach. I was coaching baseball, basketball, and football in the Army, and I would always go down and buy T-shirts. I'd buy, equipment and all that. and I was always buying other people's equipment. So I thought, what if we could buy the stuff for ourselves at wholesale and sell it retail? So that's when I learned how to be a businessman or business person for myself. And so I realized that, okay, the paradigm shift is that I have to be the business person, and we have to be the business person. And I didn't quite know how to do that, but I met you, and you were marketing, you knew business and marketing. I didn't have the formal training like you had in college, but I just had to hustle. I was, from Detroit, so we called it a hustle, but we didn't know how to hustle for ourselves. I was always hustling for someone else. I said, well, let's cut out the middleman and learn how to do these things for ourselves. And that's when I said, I can't do it by myself. And I looked for a team. And I looked for someone that was going in the same direction, ideally with me, had the same vision, same goal, to be your own boss. And that's when the aha moment came. I said, well, let's do it for ourselves. And what do I know? Well, I know sports. I know sports, and I know parents and kids and players needed equipment and they needed stuff. They like the bling. So how can we provide the bling to the sports community? And that's how Pro Starter Sports came about. How can we provide jerseys, starter jackets, pro player, baseball caps, March Madness, and NASCAR stuff? And then that's where that's what sort of put the vision together. And once that came together, LaWanna and I, our aha moment came. And I'll let LaWanna tell how we sat down in the meeting to try to refine the vision.
And I love what you're saying. So again, the lesson one is starting from what you know, right? So what you knew sports. You knew what the kids wanted. This was a time dating ourselves, right? When licensing started to take on an industry face of its own. It was not like it is today. And I think the biggest challenge, like you said, we were too novice, and we were coming from whether it was MLM or doing some other little stuff on the side to now saying we want to play with the bigger boys. So again, here what we're saying, licensed sporting apparel. So who do you go to get these things? Like you said, whether it was Starter or Nike, or how do we become part of this team so that we can have the inventory that we need in order to build a business? But before we could even get to finding the inventory, we had to come up with some money.
Exactly.
Right. So it's like crowdfunding 101. And again, we had no one to teach us. There wasn't a Google. There wasn't Google University back then.
Well, in fact, we didn't have the internet. And so we had libraries where we would go to get entrepreneurship for dummies. We had, hey, mister, in the store, we were talking about, how did you do this? How did you do that? And we went to the sport, stores where they were selling baseball gloves. It's like, how do I supply you baseball gloves? Well, we buy our stuff from here, from there. So we learned the business by talking to people that were into business. They didn't know our vision, but we were inside and trying to gather information and try to build trust and relationships. So we're building trust and relationships from our environment and trying to get people to teach us. And we didn't have formal instructors. We had people that were doing the business, and some of them were not very friendly. They didn't want to teach us. Either they were too busy to teach us. So we had to do basically it all from our own. So we started going through the book, and they said the best way to start a business is to work with family and friends or build a funding source. We didn't know anything about crowdfunding. It wasn't formalized at the time we were starting. So we did crowd.
what it was called back then was, and I guess they still use the term somewhat, but it was bootstrapping,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
remember, we would, so like you said, we had libraries, or we would send letters to the SBA with our question, and they would send us back little pamphlets, little how-to pamphlets.
Exactly. We did get and joined. We went to the SBA, and they even gave us a coach, a mentor, and sponsor. But most of the people were retired. Yeah, what is called a SCORE, Service Corps of Retired Entrepreneurs. And so SCORE gave us a mentor. The mentor said, "Well, I never sold sporting goods. But I've sold something and I've started businesses." So we had to transform our vision and use their business expertise and how to, and they helped us figure and say, "Well, you want to do this. What do you want to sell?" I said, "Well, we want to sell jerseys, start jackets and all that." They said, "Well, have you talked to Nike?" "No." "Have you talked to all the people in the industries?" And they'll say, "Well, start there." So we started building, a Rolodex full of points of contact of how this thing worked. And then once we knew how it worked, they also told us how much it would cost.
Yeah. So Rick has big dreams, and we didn't know that in order to play, to get invited to the pool, right? Not even get in the pool, but to get invited. It required some deep pockets. I mean, deep pockets. And so I know, Rick, you put in literally all you
had. Yeah.
I think my total investment was about 70,000. I'm not certain with Vernon how much he put in, but literally when I say Rick gave all is all. All is all. So I want to pause right there. So those of you who are listening, we're here with my 30 plus year business partner, Ricky J. Spann, and we're talking about lessons learned in this amazing partnership journey that we've had. And I want to ask you, if you are thinking about starting a business or in a business, whether you're thriving or even maybe you're questioning, is this the right place? How vested are you in your business? Are you willing to be all in? Are you totally committed? Are you sort of playing and hoping that, one day some miracle will come, little pixie dust will be sprinkled over your business, and wow, you'll make your millions? Commitment is key. Commitment is key. So, Rick, let's talk about because what we had wasn't enough. You gave all.
So,
Connor and I about 150 collectively, right? But that wasn't enough.
Right. So recommended for this base startup for what we were trying to do was about $400,000. That was back then. That was back in 90s money, early 90s money. No, late 80s money. And so about 400,000 for the base price. And we found out that the success rate was about 30%. Now we had been to college and we were educated and all that. So it's like, wow, a 30% success rate, and you need 400,000. But are you committed? So I was committed. So I 401ks, USPA, IRA, cashed it all in. I slept in my car. I was a single parent at the time. Slept in my car. Went by LaWanna's house to eat, and feed me and my child and all those things. And I took everything and I put it in. We were still about $100,000 short. $100,000 short. But we didn't. We said, well, 300,000. We could get it going. We could we can make up the difference in sales. Wrong. But we thought about it. So we figured, with our intelligence and our drive, that we can make up the gap. And we didn't really understand certain aspects of business that's really critical. But we're all in, and I don't want to jump ahead, but we put everything in, and lo and behold, we opened the store, in the mall. It was the largest mall that they had in Sierra Vista. Walmart was an anchor store. Sears, J.C. Penney's, those were anchor stores. So we were paying. We got the best real estate in town, retail real estate in town. So we were paying
Again,
premium.
Rick dreams big. We didn't go small. We were all in.
we wasn't selling T-shirts out of the car, that's for sure. But we probably should have, but we didn't do it. So we go in, and we had the best business cards in the building, in the business, the best business plan that the banks had ever seen. We had all that, and we all had our cash that we had put in. So we opened it up, and then we tried to get loans. We couldn't get them before, but once we opened up, we figured we could get loans on cash receivables and all that, because in our strategy, we were supplying sporting the equipment to the local high school, to the military bank, etc. So we were all in, and then we learned something. We learned some vital lessons along the way. Cash flow, we didn't understand that. I'm sure we'll get to that part. But we were all in. We were up and running, and we had a really beautiful storefront, really beautiful store. And believe it or not, we had demand. We were the only store like that in a 100-mile radius. You had to go to Tucson to get to it. So everybody wanted what we had. But
yeah, let's pause right there, and that's key too. So whatever business you're in, ask yourself, what is your unicorn factor? You hear the term unicorn today, but it basically is your unique selling position. What is it? And for us, like Rick said, number one, we were unique. No one was doing what we were doing. We were the only one in a 100-mile radius. Plus, we were 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes, 30 miles from the Mexican border. Okay, back to you, Rick.
So we were close, and people were coming across the border. They were coming from the surrounding towns to come and get these starter jackets, these Nike shoes, Adidas, all this stuff that we had. They were coming to get, and they would buy all of it. Then we would put 100, put 50% back in inventory. The other stuff had to pay the tax, and we didn't realize that wasn't enough, because we had the sales, but we didn't have enough to create what we call cash flow. We didn't quite understand cash flow and how it worked. We had heard about it, but we thought sales could do cash flow. But our score guy said, no, cash flow was basically you have to be able to have 6 or 7 months of cash. If you don't make a sale, you got to have 6 or 7 months of cash, because when the UPS guy show up and you have to pay him 100% of the Nike supply that he's delivering to you, or he's not going to take it off the truck. And you'll say that, well, sales today was $100 and the UPS guy needs $300. You empty the cash drawer out, that's not enough. You go and get out of your personal account, that's not enough. And he takes it and put it back in the truck and say, well, I'll hold it for a couple of days, then you have to get it back. Well, if you send it back, they would penalize you. They called it restockage fee.
Right.
30%. So now instead of $400 to get it off the truck, it's $400 and 30% of whatever 400 was to get it back. And they won't give it to you, but we have people lining up like, where's my jacket? Where's my jersey? We were taking pre-orders and all that stuff at the time, but the daily sales and the cash flow, meaning we didn't have enough money to run the inventory and pay for the inventory on a day-to-day basis, and had a surplus of cash because we paid you.
And let's pause right there, because some people, especially small business owners, we can get real excited. Ooh, money's coming in. But like you said, when you really understand cash flow, you may be getting quite a bit in. We were making a lot of money. But when we look at the cost, of doing business, the total cost, the cost of us to acquire it, because we also flew internationally to get to the suppliers to get our stuff cheaper, right? So it made more sense for us to get on a flight and fly to Korea or wherever the manufacturers were and bring it back than it was. So again, eliminating the middleman. But that still wasn't what we were making, still wasn't enough because again, we were a storefront. We had workers, we had different shifts. So all of that. And then it's like, are you really able to truly pay yourself? No, you're able to keep your doors open. You're able to pay your employees, but the business, the cash flow requirement is not there. And I think a lot of, when I talk to a lot of women entrepreneurs, Rick, I hear about the numbers that they say, but I'm like, something must be a little awry, because if everybody's making this quote unquote 6 figures, whatever that may be for you, then why is it that the Labor Department and IRS is saying the average small business owner is earning less than $50,000 a year? Where is all the money? So again, can you live on what your business is making and still survive? And we couldn't. I mean, I was a doorpreneur. I still had my job.
Right. I had nothing. I had the store. But the most critical thing that we learned is what cash flow was. And when you later on down the road, once I get my master's degree in business and you get your master's degree, we learned of cost of goods sold and cash flow. We learned cash flow the hard way, but we didn't know how to figure it out, because while you're in the fight, you don't know how to figure out the logistics of the fight. And being in the military, we had all that. They had already figured that out by the time I joined. So it just sort of happened. We had a person trained in logistics. We had a person trained in administration. We had people trained in intelligence and operation. So all those team members that we had in the military, you and I didn't have. And had we had that, which gets back to partnership and the trust. So when you build your business, you have to realize you're going to have a logistician, or a person that understands supply and demand. You're going to have a person that understands finance, cash flow. You don't have to know it all, but you have to know people that know it all, because it wasn't until we hired a CPA, a person that was a CPA. He became our store manager, and we couldn't figure out, why are we believe we're making over $1 million a year? Why am I sleeping in the car? and why we're not? Why all we're doing writing checks to everyone else? And he sat down and he broke it down. Said, Rick, what are you selling? And I said, I'm selling starter jackets. I'm selling T-shirts. I'm selling baseball, basketball to the high school. He said, no, you're not. He said, it's called bottom line management. He said, you don't determine what you sell. Your customers determine what you sell. No matter what you want to sell, your customers determine that. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, look, so we went line by line of sales for the last year or so. And when I got the call, because by that time you had moved, and I said, hey, we're not selling starter jackets. We're selling baseball caps.
Pause right there, because that is so critical. And like Barbara and I were getting ready to do a training on your client avatar, and it comes from this particular lesson. You may think you know who your customers are and what their buying habits are, but if you haven't really assessed it, so yeah, we were buying what we wanted to have, how we wanted the store to look. It was snazzy to have the different paraphernalia, the autographed paraphernalia. You said the starter jackets, the champion for both, which was insane when I think about it. Not only were we doing it for the NFL, the NBA, right, the hockey league, I mean, everything. But we said, oh, let's bring all the colleges in. I mean, think about that. We were trying to be everything to everyone. But like you said, where we were our place of genius was hat sales, pro-fitted hats.
Pro fitted hat sales. Pro. Once I found out that the customer had dictated what business they wanted, I knew and you and I wanted to sell paraphernalia. I wanted to sell all of it. We wanted to sell Mirage jackets. We wanted to sell Negro League baseball jerseys and
Yeah, and I still have mine. We paid so much money for those.
we wanted to sell Raider jackets. And the only time we could sell that stuff was during the Golden Triangle, the Christmas time. Now,
right. So let's pause right there. So this is so again, it's so important to understand the cost of goods sold. Like, how much is it going to take you to even play the game? So when you have in the companies like Nike coming in and they can buy crazy volume,
right,
lowers their price point. Well, we couldn't buy volume like that. So now our price point per jacket is much higher. So they may be able to get a jacket for $20 and sell it for $250. That same jacket may cost us $75 and we're selling it for $250. Right, Rick?
Exactly. So those Hard Knock University is the best teacher, and we learned it young. So if the first person, we're at the lowest tier of the retail industry, so we wanted 10 starter jackets. The company would say we sell them in kits of 8. And I said, okay, I'll take 8, but give me 8 extra larges. They said, no, we don't sell that. We sell 2 small, 2 medium, 2 large, and 2 extra. I said, well, nobody's going to pay $100 for a small starter jacket or a small Blackhawks jersey or a small Phoenix Sun jersey. They don't care. If you want to sell 2 extra larges, we had to buy 6 sizes that we couldn't sell, because they're not going to pull out and give you all that. They're going to give you that small kit. So we get a kit and we sell the 2 extra larges just like that. People will be waiting on them, but we dusted off the rest of them until the parent could afford to buy their small kid $150 or $250 jacket. In November, from November to December, the parents will spend mad money. But the other 9 months, they might buy a kid something on their birthday. Well, all the kids didn't have the same birthday, and definitely not in the same month. So we dusted it all the way off until the kid had a birthday, and he was small, and he was medium, or if he was large, then we could sell that then. But by that time, the UPS guy then took all the stuff that we needed back, because we didn't have the cash sales to buy the sizes, and we didn't have the price point that we could do the next year where we could pick our sizes. We couldn't pick our sizes. Now, we tried to solve that problem. I don't know if you remember, we wanted to buy into a consortium of small businesses that put money together and bought enough bulk that they could pick the sizes. Well, it would cost us $100 and some thousand to buy into the pro player group. And
Right.
the pro player group, we all put in our little bids of how much we wanted, and then they'll get it divided, sent to you. But the buy-in was $100,000. So wow, now the doors of the store are open, and we can't get the supply. We got the demand, but we couldn't get the supply. And
Let's pause right there, because some people listening, if you're listening, I'm here with my business partner, Ricky J. Spann, and we are talking about lessons learned from our 30-year journey as entrepreneurs, but as business partners. And some of you may say, okay, this is great. This sounds like the product-based business. We're coming from, that was our product-based business, but we've had service-based business as well. And business principles are all the same. Even if it's a service-based business, there is a cost of doing business. There's a cost to that service. How much time did it take you to develop that coaching package, your third party fees, all of that you have to assess and to determine, number one, what your price point is going to be, what your return on investment is going to be. It's again, it's the same principles, but we just wanted to kind of rest in this beginning journey because, again, at Pro Starter Sports, which is very aptly named when I think about it, starter, right? We learned everything from the start. Everything that I've learned in business, I can go right back and say, yep, it was there. That lesson was there. I may not have known how to navigate it strategically, but it was all there.
So that's an important point that you said. The lesson is the key. If you can learn the lesson before you start, if you could, because people are going to tell you the lesson, but you're going to blow it off because the vision sometimes is so clear that you don't learn the process of getting to the vision. Well, people don't realize that a vision is the end result. But what you have to do in the vision, you have to back up and you have to pay attention to the details, like an artist or Picasso. The final thing of a painting is the final thing. But back up, the right canvas, the right ink, the right paint mixture, or the right whatever. That's where the business is made. And the more attention you pay to the process of whatever it is you're trying to do, that's going to be the difference between success and failure. Everything that we wanted to do worked, but the process where we had, and we were tight except for the last 5 or 10% of the process that we didn't, like cash flow and cost of goods sold. We didn't quite understand that or plan for it. We didn't quite understand that the people wanted it. They were there, but we didn't know that Nike wouldn't sell it to us in the sizes that the people needed. And
Rick, we got a couple comments I want to just read. Someone said, love that you're building trust in relationships, foundational elements for business relationships and growth. Another person says, there are so many lessons to be learned from what you've shared so far. You're both survivors and existing business owners, as well as new business owners can take lessons from the experiences you both have had. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, E360 community, Facebook and LinkedIn, for joining in for this very insightful journey back down memory lane. And you were talking about Nike, Rick, and we gotta share a little bit of comedy here. But before we do so, I'm gonna do a quick cutaway, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
So, our Nike experience. One of the things that we learned was how to be a buyer, right? How to go out and find your merchandise. And you had to, because it's sporting, you had to know what the trends were, what the expected trends and or wins were going to be, right? Who's going to be in the Final Four. All of this was just ongoing conversation and reviewing and reading and trying to buy accordingly. And we went to the Super Show, which is the largest licensed sporting apparel store show in the world. And there were certain rooms, if you will, or auditoriums where the big players were. So whether it was Nike or Adidas or Champion, we get there and we're just in awe at everything that we see. And this is where you're negotiating. You're coming in and you're saying, okay, can I get 20 jackets? Can I these colors, these teams? And we see an elevator, an escalator, right? And all these people are going up and they're dressed really snazzy. And we're like, whoa. And you see like neon lights, Nike. And Rick and I were like, okay, we'll go on up there. And so we go up the escalator. And the person asked Rick, can I get your name? And Rick was just bold and confident. Yes, I'm Ricky Spann with Pro Starter Sports. And the person's looking on the manifest and it's like, sir, I don't see you. No, I'm Ricky Spann, started sports, and we just want to look around. Next thing you know, on the down escalator, you see LaWanna and Ricky. We couldn't even get our foot in the door.
What we didn't know is that, it's a business, and from both ends. Nike was charging $25,000 for us to get in that room to listen to them tell us how to buy their stuff and how to market their stuff. They wasn't going to let you come in, pick a cup. No, you spend $25,000, which means that you had to have some kind of large operation, and then they'll say, "Hey, this is Nike. We're going to train you how to sell it. We're going to help you market." But $25,000 to get in, so we never got in. But people were paying it. They were going past us, and we were going on the down elevator, and the heavy hitters was coming in. Like, okay, but that's the way it's done. It's not like Nike is way. They were so big, and Adidas and all. They were so big. They had people standing in line to buy their stuff and learn how to market and sell it, because they're very proprietary. You have to put the shoe this way. You have to put so they're not going to let you take their brand and just hang it on a hanger. And no, like what we learned is that if they put something in your store, they want the most susceptible part of the store for sales. You can't take Nike and put it in the back row. So our store, they were going to guarantee that their brand was protected. So they said, if you get Nike, you have to play by these rules, and you're under contract, and you have to get whatever they ship you, because they determine what they're going to ship you, and then you have to place it here. We had Adidas tennis shoes. You couldn't place them next to the Nike tennis. So it was like, wow. Now we're already in business, and the rent is due every month, and the UPS guy is showing up. So we're learning these lessons, and they're great lessons. I mean, one thing I do say is, through all that, it was a good lesson to learn while you're young, because you're going to learn business lessons that you can't foresee, but you want to learn them as young as you can, because you can bounce back. So that was one of we learned so much just being turned down by some of the heavy hitters, and we went back, reassessed, and re-engaged, and then we were able to do things. The vision was getting more clear, but we were taking some bruises.
And when I think back on those times, I mean, we were truly a multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I was most proud of, I think everyone was hoping that was going to be our brass ring, right? That was going to be our goose that laid the golden egg. And we were so blessed to actually promote and sponsor a middleweight boxing champion. Andrew Maynard was fighting Tommy Hearns at Caesar's Palace. So listen to what I'm saying. So again, this just shows you who we had become. That we were at the table, negotiated, had our own boxer at Caesar's Palace. And had Andrew won, we would not be sitting here having financial runs.
One part.
I'm sorry, it wouldn't happen. But and that was when the big screen TVs were just coming out, and Rick went and got a big screen TV. We had a big watch party, and within a matter of minutes, you guys can Google it. In a matter of minutes, that fight was over.
Pay-per-view, over millions and millions of viewers, and we have bet the farm on it. We have bet the farm on it. We had sales. We had Maynard set up to come out and sign autographs and all that. But what, about a minute and 14 seconds, if I remember correctly, he got knocked out, and on the bottom of his shorts or trunks, Pro Side Sports was laying on the canvas, and all our dreams sunk. I mean, it was just, I mean, it was wild. But had he won, so we did everything right, but we didn't have. And I go back to cash. We didn't have mistake cash. You have to have enough cash flow that you can make one or two mistakes and not be out of business. And we didn't have enough to sustain us through that knockout punch, or
Literally.
literally, literally, we bought his jerseys, we bought his outfit and his crew. We put them all together with Pro Starter Sport paraphernalia, and he just he did his best. He did his best.
He did. But it was a thrill. Again, think about it. We're kids. I call us kids then because we're in our 20s. But to see on international TV our brand, I will never forget that feeling. Before he walked into the ring and to see, his crew and everyone, and all you saw was Pro Starter Sports. I'm like, this is it. This is it.
But I want to draw a parallel to people, because every business is going to go through pretty much the same thing. The only difference that you don't normally see, like Microsoft, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Elon Musk, everyone, when you see it on TV, it's the rags to riches story, but you don't get the backstory. The backstory is that Amazon's dad, Jeff Bezos' dad, was a businessman, and the seed money and the knockdown money, or the fall down, those ups and downs, his father had deep pockets in his community. Same thing with Elon Musk. His dad was a South African businessman, and seed money and mistake money.
But like with Richard Branson, his parents mortgaged their home.
Yeah.
When he almost lost his business. So, like you said, there's the other side of the story that you don't hear. Right? Who was their safety net? Because every business needs one.
And so that's key, because we learned that you need to mentor, and you need somebody that believes in the vision and believe in you, that can help you sustain one or two knockout punches, the knockdown punches. Because Richard Branson, like you say, he was failing at everything, but his parents kept believing in him because they believed. In Pro Starter Sports, we were just not, our community wasn't cultured to help us get to that next level. I mean, we were what, 10 rounds, 11 rounds of boxing. If Maynard could have just made it to the end, we had already had sponsors set up to give more money. But once once that happened, it was tough, and it was hard to recover from that. But you have to have someone to believe in you, help mentor you, and help you understand. And critical is cash flow. If you do retail, you have to be able to. The book said you want to be able to run a retail business 3 years without a profit, and that was the book thing. But you need that.
What I want to do is, and some of the old guard, they've passed away, but I just want to give a special thanks on behalf of Pro Starter Sports to our venture capitalists, because we actually went out and we did our own face-to-face crowdfunding. It wasn't like this online thing. We were picking, friends and family, and sitting down and talking to them and going over in detail our business model. And they helped to bridge that gap. They were the bridge funding that we needed. And we thank you so very much. And Mom and Dad, who are still with us, they were part of that crew. But as you said, Rick, it wasn't enough. It wasn't deep enough. It was a lot of money.
It was,
but not for the industry we were in. We were in a very expensive industry.
Yeah, and I know we're probably short on time, but another thing you have to plan for, and we had done the SWOT analysis, because you made sure that we did the SWOT analysis. So what we had exclusive rights to sell. We knew who our competitors were. We knew whatever. So on these contracts, we would let with Nike, Adidas, and all that, we had exclusive rights to sell their stuff. But then Walmart, these secret shoppers that you never knew about, we knew firsthand. They'd come in our store, they'd look and see what we sell, and they'd sell a knockoff. The only thing different was the label. The swoosh might have been a swash, but they would sell the exact same T-shirt, exact same shoe for $9 or $10. And you were like, well, how did they do that? We couldn't sell a T-shirt for under $20, $25. We had good quality T-shirts. But how did Walmart sell the same design and all that? And then Walmart was buying their stuff by the railroad car trains. Those railroad car trains you see, they were buying by the tonnage. They wasn't buying by the piece. They like, give me tons of T-shirts this size. They picked the sizes. And then we tried to sue Walmart. And so we went there and, hey, we got exclusive rights to sell Pro Player or whatever. I think it was Pro Player. And Walmart looked me in the eye. Their rep looked me in the eye and said, sue me. That's all they said. They knew I had the right to sell. We had the right to sell that item in our store. We had like I want to say a 50-mile range. They said, the people that gave us the exclusive rights also sold to Walmart. We tried to get a lawyer, and the lawyer said, you can't, you're not big enough to sue Walmart. It would cost you too much to sue them. Walmart, that's why I started hating. Remember, we wouldn't go to Walmart for years after that. I'm back at it now. But they saw what was selling in our store, and they replicated it and sold it. For the T-shirt that we bought, we paid $10 to get the T-shirt. Walmart was selling for $8. That between Walmart and Andrew Maynard getting knocked out, that's because we were juggling and we could have been successful, but we just the treachery of the business we hadn't planned for, and Walmart sank us. That we did what four and a half years.
4.5 years. Yeah, but so the business it didn't survive, but I still see it as a success story because there was so much learned from it, and the businesses that you and I have independently built from that experience. One of the things, and I want to say this before we close, we have about 6 minutes, is trust. Whether it's you, if it's your vision, or you're in partnership and you got that visionary, you got to trust the vision even though you may not understand. So we did have those hits, but there was two things that Rick said. And the first was, we can sell this stuff online. And this is like about year 3 or so. And I said, Rick, this online thing, people are just starting to understand what the World Wide Web is. I don't see people buying online. I don't see people putting their cards and not knowing where it's going. This is LaWanna, so sometimes your partners can go against you because you're short-sighted. Had I just shut up and said, I don't understand it, but I'm trusting the visionary, you never know what opportunity would have been there. So that was one. And the other, you said, well, LaWanna, we're small, but we've got the concept. Why don't we franchise it, right? So you've got things like Play It Again Sports that came after Pro Starter Sports. So had we franchised it, again, I'm like, well, who's going to want to buy it? Look how much it's going to cost. But you're like, LaWanna, we're selling the concept. All the lessons learned, all the hardships, we're stripping that. We're making it easier for them to be successful. We're going to sell the franchise. And again, short-sighted LaWanna got in the way.
So, and that's important. And my business relationship with you was so important that I was the CEO. I wouldn't overrule, but you knew, and now, and I know that sometimes you have to make the hard decisions. Before Amazon was ever heard of, I, I talked to my partners, LaWanna and Trotter, and I said, hey, we have to do drop shipping. We didn't call it, Amazon wasn't even heard of. It was drop shipping. We had to cut out the middleman. So the people where our vendors, I would say, hey, this guy wants 12 baseball caps. If you send them to me, I got to get them off the truck, get them. They said, no, we'll send them right to whoever you want to send it to. And they said, in fact, you don't even have to have a store. You just have a catalog. I thought about the Sears catalog. Before Amazon, there was the Sears catalog. So I took it to my partner and said, hey, look, the store is hanging me. My son and I would sleep in the car. So let's start drop shipping. We already have the vendors. Those are our vendors. They'll ship it right to the school. They'll ship it right to the team. And so I got outvoted. And then I said, okay, you have to know when you have to transition your business because of the times and whatever. So I would go to these franchise meetings, and they said, okay, you're at the point now you need to franchise. You need to sell the concept for, I think it was like $90,000. And in that concept, we were going to give them how to start it up, how to do this, the vendors and all that. That was the franchise people that were mentoring me said, for $90,000, because everybody loved Pro Starter Sports. For $90,000, they could have this is what Donald Trump does. People don't realize he doesn't build buildings. He sells that Trump logo across somebody else's building. And we were trying. I said, no. Well, you don't want to lose control. Well, we don't have control. The UPS guy was controlling us, and the Ret guy was controlling us. So if we could just sold that for $90,000 and give people a cookie cutter way, McDonald's did the same thing. The McDonald brothers lost McDonald's because they didn't understand the concept of franchising. But Ray Kroc knew franchising because he was a milkshake salesman going around. And he saw how it worked. Give the concept, let somebody buy the concept, and McDonald's became a real estate salesman. Ray Kroc sold the real estate. He bought the land under the buildings and all that. And me and you had a little extra money. We bought the franchise and a how-to book. And that's what you had to know. And we were right there where we should have franchised. But those are mistakes that we could, lessons from mistakes that we could pass on other people, other aspiring entrepreneurs, because the spirit of the entrepreneur runs the world. I'm convinced of that.
Well, Rick, we are actually out of time. Thank you for those of you who are joined us on Business and Financial Raw Talk. It is Black-Owned Business Month, and I'm here with my business partner, Ricky J. Spann, and we salute all businesses, but especially those in our Black and Brown communities that are out there just pressing, because we know that there's a lot that we have to overcome. But together, through shared stories, through sharing successes, you can navigate your way that much easier. Where we found the stumbling blocks, we're now showing you where the stepping stones are. I'm definitely going to bring Ricky back on, because there's a lot that we can take and we're going to translate to now for those service-based businesses and things that you can do as a knowledge broker. How do you take those lessons, those experiences, and you teach others to do the same? So, Ricky, thank you so much for joining me.
And one last thing before you go, I am the owner of R&R Beach City Bistro. I have a food trailer and a food service business, so I understand the service industry as well. So if you want to learn, contact LaWanna, and she'll contact me, and we can help you out.
Yes, and I'm putting the contact information here. As Ricky said, if you want to know more about the service lane, even from a coaching standpoint, instructional standpoint, you can reach me at LaWanna at BradfordGroupMTG.com. All things social media, LaWanna Bradford. You can find Ricky also on social media, Ricky J. Spann. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. And just remember, partnerships matter. They can change the course of your trajectory. They can create momentum, because I believe in the African proverb that we can go far by ourselves, but we can go farther together. And my success in the Bradford Group is because of this man sitting right here. Truly. So thank you so much, Rick, for just always being there for me. Love you much. And ladies and gentlemen, remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. And we will see you next week on another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. Take care.
Thank you all.